My hands shook as I stood in the airport terminal, watching my family through the glass wall. Kate dragging a suitcase, the twins tugging at her sleeves, my mother barking orders at my father, who shuffled behind with that familiar defeated slump. I clutched my boarding pass, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. This wasn't just a vacation I was escaping. It was a lifetime of being the invisible daughter, the dependable aunt, the sacrificial lamb for my golden sister Kate and her perfect little world. They were heading to Florida, expecting me to trail along like always, babysitting the twins while they sipped cocktails. But I had a secret, a ticket to a tiny Caribbean island, a place they'd never find me. I turned away, switched off my phone, and walked toward my gate, every step a mix of terror and exhilaration. For the first time in 35 years, I was choosing myself. My name's Elizabeth, Liz to the few people who actually see me for me. I'm 35, a marketing strategist who just clawed her way to a promotion after years of late nights and 2 part-time jobs in college. I grew up in suburban Massachusetts, in a house where every wall screamed Kate's name, her debate trophies, her college diplomas, her wedding photos. Me? I got hand-me-downs and half-hearted "that's nice dear" comments when I dared to mention my own wins, like the painting competition I swept in high school while they were off touring Kate's dream campus. I've spent my life bending over backwards for my family, my parents, Richard and Diane, and Kate, the sister who could do no wrong. I love the twins, her 7-year-old boys, but they've become my burden, dropped off at my cramped apartment every weekend with no warning. I'm single, no kids, and somehow that makes me the family's default servant. But that airport moment? That was the line in the sand. It all started a month ago. I'd had a brutal weekend with the twins. They'd spilled juice on my couch, scribbled on my walls, and accidentally cracked my laptop screen trying to play superhero. I was done. I booked a solo trip to a quiet Florida resort, dreaming of waves and silence. I made the mistake of mentioning it at our weekly family dinner. My mother's eyes lit up like a predator spotting prey. "Oh, that's perfect. We should all go. The twins would love the beach." Kate jumped in, already planning. "You can take the boys swimming, Liz, while Jack and I get some alone time." My father nodded, mumbling, "Families should stick together." I sat there, fork frozen midair, feeling the familiar chokehold of their expectations tighten around my neck. My vacation, my one shot at peace, had been hijacked in under 60 seconds. I couldn't sleep that night. My tiny apartment felt like a cage, the stained couch mocking me, the broken laptop a symbol of how my life kept getting trashed. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every time I'd swallowed my anger, my 10th birthday when they gave me Kate's leftover graduation cake with her name still iced on it, the college years when they paid Kate's tuition but left me scrambling with loans and late-night diner shifts. I'd always been the afterthought, the one who got Kate's too big violin instead of music lessons, the one who babysat while Kate built her dream life with my parents' money and connections. I pulled out my phone and booked a new trip, a hidden resort on a Caribbean island. I didn't tell a soul. It felt sneaky, dishonest even, but it also felt like oxygen after years of drowning. The next day, my best friend Maggie came over. She's 32, a freelance journalist with a sharp tongue and sharper loyalty. We've been tight since high school when she'd dragged me out of my room to celebrate my wins while my family fawned over Kate's debate medals. She plopped onto my ruined couch, eyeing the chaos. "The twins again?" she asked, voice dripping with sarcasm. I nodded, spilling the vacation fiasco. Her face darkened. "Liz, you're letting them walk all over you. When's the last time they cared about what you want?" She leaned forward, intense. "Remember when I told my mom to shove it and moved across the country? Best decision I ever made. You need to run, girl." Her words hit hard, stirring something restless in me. I didn't tell her about the island yet. I wasn't ready to say it out loud, but she planted the seed that kept me moving forward. At work, things got complicated. Tom, my coworker, caught me muttering about the trip mess while I was grabbing coffee. He's 40, funny in a quiet way, with kind eyes that linger a little too long when he talks to me. "Rough weekend?" he asked, leaning against the counter. I sighed, giving him the short version. He grinned. "You deserve that Florida break. Need help planning?" I hesitated, then let him think I was still going to Florida. He offered to print my itinerary, and I let him, keeping my real plan locked tight. It felt good to have someone in my corner, even if he didn't know the full story. Then Kate showed up at my place unannounced, twins in tow, a suitcase stuffed with their beach toys. "Liz, I need you to pack for the boys. I'm swamped picking out spa treatments for me and Jack. Her tone was casual, like it was my job. I snapped, Kate, I'm not your maid. Her eyes widened, then filled with tears. You're so selfish sometimes, she whimpered, pulling out her phone. 10 minutes later, my mother stormed in, face red. Elizabeth, how dare you upset your sister? This is a family trip. Maggie, who'd stuck around, couldn't hold back. Family? You mean Kate's personal staff, right, Diane? My mother spun on her. Get out of my daughter's house. Maggie smirked, whispering to me as she left. If you don't escape this, no one will save you. My father just stood there, silent as always, but I saw a flicker of unease in his eyes. The days before the airport were a blur. I packed in secret, stashing my island gear in a duffel under my bed. Kate dropped by the office one afternoon, demanding I take the twins to the park. Tom was there helping me with some work stuff, really my fake Florida itinerary. A Caribbean ticket slipped out of my folder and Kate's eyes narrowed. What's that? She asked, voice sharp. I snatched it back, heart racing. Just a work thing, I lied, shoving the twins' park trip on her instead. She huffed off, but I knew she suspected something. I couldn't wait any longer. The airport day was chaos. I got there early, checked in at a different terminal, and watched my family arrive from afar. Kate was barking at Jack, her voice cutting through the hum of the crowd like a whip. Jack, where's their juice? You were supposed to pack it. The twins were whining, tugging at her sleeves, their little faces red and scrunched. I could hear them even from my hiding spot behind a pillar. My mother was scanning the crowd, her sharp eyes darting around. Probably for me. Her lips pursed in that familiar mix of irritation and expectation. My father trailed behind, shoulders slumped, lugging a overstuffed diaper bag like a man who'd given up arguing years ago. My phone buzzed nonstop. Kate's "Where are you?" texts piling up. My mother's panicked, "Elizabeth, answer us," vibrating against my thigh. I shut it off, hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped it, and made my way to my gate. As I handed my boarding pass to the agent, my stomach twisted. I was really doing this. The plane roared down the runway, and as it lifted off, I felt weightless, like I'd shed 35 years of chains. Guilt gnawed at me. I pictured the twins crying, their sticky hands reaching for Aunt Lizzie, my father's worried face creasing deeper. But the freedom drowned it out, a tidal wave crashing over decades of resentment. I'd planned every second of this escape, but the universe had other ideas. Sitting next to me on the flight was a woman named Clara, maybe 45, with a loud laugh and a habit of talking over the engine noise. She had frizzy red hair and a carry-on stuffed with what looked like art supplies. "First solo trip?" she asked, catching me staring out the window like it held all the answers. I nodded, too wired to lie. "Good for you," she said, popping a piece of gum. "I ditched my ex and his leeching kids last year. Best thing I ever did. Where you headed?" I hesitated, then mumbled something about the Caribbean. Her eyes lit up. "Oh, you'll love it. I'm going there too. Got a painting gig. Name's Clara, by the way." She kept chattering, and though I'd wanted silence, her energy was oddly comforting, like a stranger's vote of confidence in my rebellion. The plane landed on the island after a bumpy descent that left my knuckles white. Stepping onto the tarmac, I breathed in the salty air, the sun searing my skin. It was nothing like the crowded Florida mess my family was descending into. My resort was a cluster of bungalows tucked against a quiet beach, the kind of place where you could hear your own thoughts. I dropped my bag in my room, a simple space with a bed, a wicker chair, and a view of waves crashing, and stood there, letting the stillness sink in. No twins screaming, no Kate demanding, no mother guilting, just me. I collapsed onto the bed, exhaustion and relief tangling in my chest until I fell asleep with my shoes still on. That first night, I wandered to the resort's bar, a shack with fairy lights and a thatched roof. That's where I met Lila, the owner, a 50-year-old woman with a gravelly voice and arms covered in faded tattoos. She slid a rum across the counter without me asking. "You look like you're running from something," she said, her eyes crinkling as she sized me up. I laughed, a shaky sound, and took a sip. "Yeah, my family." She nodded like she'd heard it 1,000 times. "Ran from mine too, control freaks, the lot of them. Took me 20 years to figure out I didn't owe 'em my life. You're smarter than I was, kid." We talked for hours, me spilling about Kate, the twins, my parents' endless favoritism, her telling me about the sister who'd once owned this bar with her until she'd cut ties over a blowout fight. "Family's a choice," Lila said, refilling my glass. "You don't have to keep picking the ones who bleed you dry." The next morning, I ran into Clara again. She was sprawled on the beach with an easel, painting the horizon in wild strokes of orange and blue. "Hey, runaway," she called, waving me over. "Come paint with me. Looks like you need to let something out." I'd never been artsy. My high school win was a fluke, but I grabbed a brush, smearing colors onto a canvas. It felt messy, chaotic, like all the anger I'd bottled up was spilling out in reds and blacks. Clara grinned. "See? Better than therapy." She told me about her gig, painting murals for a local hotel, and dragged me along to meet her client, a wiry guy named Javier, maybe 30, with a quick smile and a thick accent. He ran the hotel's activities, and when he heard I was new, he shoved a surfboard at me. "You're trying this tomorrow," he said, no room for argument. I laughed, nervous but giddy. When had I last said yes to something just for fun? That afternoon, I met Mark, a 38-year-old photographer with a scruffy beard and a camera slung around his neck. He was lounging by the pool, snapping shots of the palm trees. "You've got a good face," he said, casual but direct, catching me off guard. "Mind if I take a few?" I blushed, stammering, but let him. We got talking. He was freelance, traveling the world, no ties. "What's your story?" he asked, lowering the camera. I gave him the short version: family suffocation, secret escape. He whistled. "That's ballsy. I ditched a corporate gig for this life, haven't looked back." He invited me to a sunset shoot that night, and I said yes, my heart doing a little flip I hadn't felt since college. The days blurred into a rhythm I'd never known. I surfed with Javier, wiping out more than I stood, but laughing so hard my sides ached. I painted with Clara, her wild energy pulling me out of my shell. Mark and I wandered the beach at dusk, him snapping photos while I rambled about my life, the words pouring out like I'd been holding them in forever. Lila became my nighttime anchor, her bar a refuge where I'd sit with a drink, listening to her stories and feeling the weight of my old life peel away. But the guilt lingered. Every time I checked the time, I'd think, the twins are eating lunch now, or Kate's probably calling me selfish again. It was a habit, decades deep, and shaking it felt like prying nails out of wood. 5 days in, I couldn't avoid it anymore. I turned my phone on, bracing myself. 147 missed calls, 300 texts, voicemails flooding in. Kate's voice screeched through one. "You've ruined everything, Liz. The boys won't stop asking for you. Jack had to cancel meetings." My mother's was colder, manipulative. "Elizabeth, how could you do this? The twins are heartbroken. Did we raise you to be this cruel?" My father's was quiet, hesitant. "Just tell us you're safe, Liz." "I don't understand, but I'm worried." I stared at the screen, chest tight. Part of me wanted to call back, to apologize, to fix it like always. But I didn't. I texted once. "I'm safe, having a great vacation. Need space." And muted the chat. Clara caught me shaking after. "Family crap?" she asked, brushing paint off her hands. I nodded. "They'll survive," she said, firm. "You're not their oxygen." That night, Mark took me to a cliff overlooking the ocean. The sunset was fire, reds and golds bleeding into the water. He handed me his camera, showing me how to frame a shot. Our hands brushed, and I froze, a spark jolting through me. "You're good at this," he said, voice low, and I wondered if he meant the photo or something else. We sat there, quiet, the waves crashing below. "What happens when you go back?" he asked. I didn't have an answer, just a growing certainty that I couldn't return to the old me. The next day, Javier dragged me to a local market, insisting I try fried plantains from a vendor named Rosa, a tiny woman with a grin full of gaps. She pinched my cheek, chattering in Spanish I barely caught, something about pretty girl needs to eat. Javier translated, laughing. "She says you look too skinny, running from trouble, huh?" I smiled, awkward, but the warmth of it all, the food, the bustle, the lack of judgment, wrapped around me like a blanket. I bought a cheap bracelet from Rosa, a little turquoise thing, and slipped it on. It felt like a talisman, a piece of this new me I could keep. By day 7, I was different. I'd surfed without falling, once. Painted a canvas Clara called raw as hell, laughed with Mark over dumb jokes at Lila's bar. But the real test came when I got a text from Maggie. She'd tracked me down through work. "Your family's losing it. Kate showed up at your place, freaking out. Your mom called me, screaming you're missing. I covered for you, said you're on a work trip. You okay?" I texted back, "Better than ever. Thanks for the save." She replied, "Proud of you, badass. Don't cave." I wouldn't. Not this time. The island was my cocoon, but I knew I'd have to face them eventually. I booked a hotel for when I got back, changed my locks remotely, and started planning my confrontation. Lila caught me scribbling notes one night. "Battle plan?" she asked, smirking. "Something like that," I said. She slid me a shot. "Give 'em hell, kid. You've earned it." I downed it, the burn steadying me. I wasn't just running anymore. I was ready to fight for the life I'd glimpsed here, one where I wasn't Kate's shadow or my parents' backup plan. The plane home loomed, but for now I had 3 more days of sun, sea, and strangers who saw me as Liz, not the family's doormat. And that was worth every shaky step I'd taken to get here. Those last 3 days on the island felt like a dream I didn't want to wake from. I'd wake up to the sound of waves, not Kate's voice demanding I take the twins, or my mother's guilt trips ringing in my ears. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles, feeling a lightness I hadn't known was possible. My phone stayed off. Maggie's text was the last I'd dealt with, and I wasn't ready to face the storm waiting back home. I wanted to soak up every second of this freedom, to memorize it, because I knew the fight ahead would test everything I'd found here. Day 8 started with Javier banging on my bungalow door, his grin wide and contagious. "Come on, Liz, we're kayaking today. Rosa's orders." I stumbled out, still half asleep, but his energy pulled me along. We paddled out past the shore, the water so clear I could see fish darting below. My arms burned, but I laughed through it, splashing Javier when he teased me about my shaky strokes. "You're a natural," he lied, dodging my retaliation. Out there, with the sun beating down and the horizon stretching endless, I felt untethered, like the old Liz, the one who'd nod and obey, was sinking beneath the waves. Javier pointed to a cove ahead. "Secret spot," he said, winking. "Just us." We beached the kayaks, and he pulled out a thermos of coffee Rosa had packed, strong and bitter. Sitting on the sand, sipping from cracked mugs, I let myself breathe. "You're different today," he said, squinting at me. "Less haunted." I smiled, small but real. Maybe I'm finally waking up. That afternoon, Clara roped me into another painting session. She'd set up by the cliffs, her easel wobbling in the breeze. "You're my muse now," she declared, shoving a brush at me. I painted the cove I'd seen with Javier, blues and greens bleeding together, messy but alive. Clara peered over, whistling. "Damn, girl, that's got soul. You sure you're not an artist?" I laughed, shaking my head. "Just a runaway with a brush." She smirked, then got quiet. "You know, I ran too. Left a husband who thought I was his maid, kids who didn't know my name. Took me years to stop looking over my shoulder. You're doing it faster." Her words hit deep, stirring a pride I hadn't let myself feel. I wasn't just surviving this escape, I was building something. Mark found me later, camera in hand, as I wandered the beach alone. "Sunset's calling," he said, nodding toward the horizon. We trekked to a dune, the sand cool under my feet, and he set up his tripod while I watched the sky turn pink and gold. He handed me the camera again, guiding my hands to frame the shot. "You've got an eye," he murmured, close enough I could feel his breath on my neck. My pulse jumped, but I focused on the lens, clicking the shutter. We sat after, sharing a beer he'd brought, the silence easy. "You're not going back to them, are you?" he asked, voice soft but serious. I stared at the waves. Not the way it was. I can't. He nodded, like he got it, and for a moment I wondered what it'd be like to keep him in my life, a tether to this version of me. That night, Lila's bar was packed. Locals and tourists mingling, music thumping from a battered speaker. She waved me over, sliding a rum my way. "Last big night, huh?" she said, leaning on the counter. I nodded, sipping slow. "Nervous about home?" I shrugged, the truth too big to unpack. She smirked. "You'll handle it. You've got fire now. Don't let him snuff it out." Clara crashed the conversation, dragging Javier and Mark with her. "We're toasting Liz," she announced, raising her glass. "To ditching the bastards and finding the good stuff," they cheered, and I laughed, cheeks warm, feeling seen in a way my family never let me be. We drank, danced, Javier spinning me till I was dizzy, Mark catching me when I stumbled. It was messy, loud, perfect. Day 9, I went back to the market with Rosa. She'd insisted I come say goodbye, shoving a bag of plantains into my hands. "For strength," she said through Javier's translation, patting my arm. Her gap-toothed smile stayed with me as I walked away, the bracelet she'd sold me glinting on my wrist. I spent the afternoon alone, journaling on my bungalow porch, words tumbling out about Kate's tears, my mother's control, my father's silence. I wrote about the twins too, how I missed their giggles but not the chaos they came with. The guilt was there, sharp and familiar, but fainter now, drowned by the roar of my own voice finally breaking free. The last day, Mark took me to the cliff again. "One more shot," he said, but this time he photographed me, standing against the sea, wind in my hair. "That's you now," he said, showing me the screen. I looked strong, alive, not the hollowed-out shell I'd been. We didn't kiss, didn't need to. The connection was enough, a promise of possibility. Clara hugged me goodbye at the resort gate, whispering, "Don't let him drag you back." Javier saluted, "Come surf again, runaway." Lila was last, pressing a tiny bottle of rum into my hand. "For the fight," she said, eyes fierce. "Give 'em hell." I boarded the plane, heart full but steady, ready to face what waited. Home hit like a slap. I didn't go to my apartment. I'd booked a hotel 2 nights to prep. My phone, back on, exploded. Kate's rage, "You're a traitor, Liz." My mother's venom, "We're a family emergency because of you." My father's quiet, "Please, just say you're safe." Maggie texted, "They're hunting you. Kate trashed your place looking for clues. I said you're on a work thing. Stay strong." I changed my locks from the hotel, hands sweaty, and watched from across the street as Kate and my mother buzzed my intercom, yelling into the void. I set a coffee shop meet for the next day, rehearsing my lines till my throat hurt. They came loaded, Kate with the twins, their eyes big and teary, tugging at my heartstrings like they'd been coached to do it, my mother with accusations spilling out before she even sat down, Jack and my father lagging behind like reluctant soldiers in a war they didn't sign up for. I sat in that coffee shop corner, the air thick with the smell of burnt espresso, my coffee cold in my grip, the mug's chill seeping into my palms. My hands didn't shake this time. I'd rehearsed this moment too many times in my hotel room mirror, staring into my own tired eyes until I believed I could do it. I cut in before they could launch their attack, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside. "I'm done being your servant. This ends." Kate's sob came fast, loud and theatrical. "You've traumatized the boys," she wailed, clutching the twins closer as they whimpered, their little faces scrunched in confusion. My mother hissed, her words venomous. "After all we've sacrificed for you, Elizabeth?" Jack stepped up, surprising me, his voice low but firm. "She's right. We've used her too long." My father stared, his eyes glassy, then muttered, "We didn't see it, Liz." I slammed my calendar down on the table, every babysitting day circled in red, every stolen holiday scratched out in black, and stood, my chair scraping loud against the floor. "When did you sacrifice for me?" Silence hit like a brick wall. I walked out, legs shaking but head high, the bell above the door jangling as I left them frozen in their guilt. Outside, the March air bit at my face, sharp and cold, but I didn't stop. My heart pounded, a wild drumbeat of fear and triumph. I'd done it. I'd faced them, said the words I'd swallowed for 35 years. But I knew this wasn't over. They'd regroup, come back harder. I ducked into a side street, pulling my scarf tighter when I heard footsteps behind me. I spun, expecting Kate's tear-streaked fury or my mother's righteous glare, but it was Maggie, breathless, her dark hair wild from running. "Holy crap, Liz, I saw you storm out. I was across the street grabbing a bagel. You okay?" Her eyes searched mine, fierce and protective. I nodded, still catching my breath. "I think so. I had to." She grinned, slinging an arm around me. "You're a freaking warrior. Come on, let's get you somewhere safe. They're not done with you yet." We ended up at her place, a cluttered loft with stacks of notebooks and a view of the city skyline. Maggie poured us cheap wine, her hands steady where mine still twitched. "Spill it," she said, flopping onto her couch. I told her everything, the coffee shop showdown, Jack's unexpected backup, my father's quiet admission. She whistled low. "Jack turning on Kate? That's new. And your dad? Sounds like he's cracking." I sipped the wine, the sour tang grounding me. "Maybe. But Kate and Mom won't let this go. They'll twist it, make me the villain." Maggie smirked. "Let 'em try. You've got me, and I've got a recorder in my bag from that last freelance gig. Next time, we tape it." I laughed, a shaky sound, but the idea stuck. Proof, leverage, something to fight back with. That night, I stayed at the hotel, my new locks on my old apartment still untested. Sleep wouldn't come. Every creak in the hall made me jolt, picturing Kate banging down the door. My phone stayed off, but I knew the messages were piling up, a digital avalanche waiting to bury me. The next morning, I met Tom for coffee. Not the showdown spot, a quieter place with soft jazz and warm light. He'd texted after Maggie tipped him off about my big move, his message simple: "Proud of you, let's talk." He slid into the booth across from me, his usual grin softer, eyes searching. "You look like you've been through a war," he said, pushing a muffin my way. I managed to smile. "Feels like it. I told them off yesterday. Walked out." His eyebrows shot up. "Damn, Liz, that's huge. How'd they take it?" I shrugged, picking at the muffin. Kate cried, Mom yelled, Dad, he almost got it. Jack's the wild card. He backed me up. Tom leaned in, voice low. "You're shaking things up." "Need backup. I'm no fighter, but I can glare pretty good." I laughed, tension easing, and for a moment I let myself feel the warmth of his support. But the calm didn't last. That afternoon, I got a call from my building's doorman, a gruff guy named Hank I'd tipped well to keep an eye out. "Liz, your sister's here, banging on your door yelling about the kids. I told her you're not in, but she's not leaving." My stomach dropped. "Thanks, Hank. Don't let her up." I hung up, hands clammy, and called Maggie. "She's at my place. Kate's hunting me." Maggie cursed. "Stay put. I'll swing by, see what's up. I've got my recorder." An hour later, she texted. "Caught her on tape, screaming you're a selfish bitch, twins crying in the background." She left when I showed up, evidence secured. I exhaled, relief mixing with dread. Kate wasn't bluffing. She'd escalate. The next day I went to work needing normalcy. My boss, a no-nonsense woman named Sharon, called me in. "Your mom rang the office yesterday, said it's a family emergency, wanted your location. I told her you're on leave. Everything okay?" Her tone was sharp but kind. I swallowed. "Family stuff, I'm handling it. Thanks for covering." She nodded, eyeing me. "You're tougher than you look, Liz. Don't let 'em drag you down." I left her office, bolstered but rattled. My mother pulling strings at my job was a new low. That evening I met a new face, Nina, a therapist Maggie knew from her reporting days. She was 40-ish, calm, with a voice like a steady hand. Maggie dragged me to her office, insisting, "You need this, Liz. Someone who gets family crap." Nina listened as I unloaded. Kate's golden status, my parents' favoritism, the coffee shop blowout. "You're carrying chronic family stress," she said, scribbling notes. "It's like a weight you've normalized. What you did, walking away, that's the first crack in it." I nodded, tears prickling. "But I feel guilty. The twins, my dad." She leaned forward. "Guilt's their weapon. You're not abandoning them. You're saving yourself." Her words echoed Lila's, Clara's, a chorus building in my head. 2 days later, Kate upped the ante. She showed up at my office, twins in tow, tears streaming as she begged security to let her in. "My sister's missing. She's unstable," she cried, loud enough for half the lobby to hear. Tom was there, grabbing my arm. "She's nuts. Let's get you out the back." We slipped through a service exit, my heart racing as her voice faded. He drove me to Maggie's, jaw tight. "She's unhinged, Liz. You need a plan." Maggie was waiting, recorder ready. "She's building a narrative. You're the bad guy. We've got her on tape. Use it if she pushes." That night my father called, first time since the coffee shop. "Liz, can we talk? Just me?" His voice was soft, unsteady. I agreed, picking a diner across town. He looked older when he arrived, lines deeper, hands fidgeting with a napkin. "You're happy," he said, almost to himself. "I didn't see how bad it was, for you." I stared, throat tight. "You never looked, Dad." He winced. "We thought Kate needed more. We were wrong." Not an apology, but close. I told him about the island, Nina, my new start. He listened, really listened, then said, "I hope we can fit in this life you're making. Different." He hugged me, awkward but real, and left. I sat there, coffee cooling, feeling a shift, small, fragile, but there. Kate and my mother didn't stop. Maggie caught them at my old place again, taping my mother's rant. "She's having a breakdown. We need an intervention." Kate posted online, vague jabs about selfish sisters. But I had my fortress now. A new apartment, a doorman named Hank, Tom's quiet strength, Maggie's fire, Nina's wisdom. I started pottery with coworkers, dated Tom slow and careful, wrote the twins a letter they might never see. My mother's voicemails piled up, rage, then silence. My father texted, clumsy but trying. I wasn't done fighting, but I wasn't their Liz anymore. I was mine, and that was just the beginning. Kate and my mother didn't stop. Maggie caught them at my old place again, taping my mother's rant through the crackle of her recorder. "She's having a breakdown. We need an intervention." Her voice was shrill, a desperate clawing to drag me back into their narrative. Kate took to social media, posting vague jabs about selfish sisters and family betrayers, her words dripping with the kind of sanctimony that made my stomach turn. I scrolled through them once, my chest tight, before muting her for good. But I had my fortress now. A new apartment across town, small but solid, with a doorman named Hank whose gruff, "I've got your back, Liz," became my daily armor. Tom's quiet strength steadied me, his hand brushing mine over coffee with a look that said he'd fight for me if I asked. Maggie's fire burned bright, her recorder always ready, her loyalty a wall against their chaos. Nina's wisdom grounded me, her calm voice in our sessions cutting through the guilt. "You're not their lifeline, you're yours." I started pottery with coworkers, my hands shaping clay into something real, something mine. I dated Tom slow and careful, his laugh easing the knots in my soul. I wrote the twins a letter they might never see. "I love you, but I need me too," and sealed it with a steady hand. My mother's voicemails piled up, rage at first, "How dare you abandon us?" Then silence, a cold void that felt louder than her screams. My father texted, clumsy but trying. "Saw a painting today, thought of you." I wasn't done fighting, but I wasn't their Liz anymore. I was mine, and that was just the beginning. The next week tested me. Kate showed up at my new building, buzzing the intercom like a wasp trapped in a jar. Hank called, voice low. "She's here with the kids, won't leave. Want me to handle it?" I nodded through the phone, heart racing. "Please." He sent her off, grumbling about crazy sisters, and I exhaled, safe behind my walls. Maggie texted later. "Caught her ranting outside. Liz is tearing us apart. On tape. She's spiraling." I didn't listen to it. Didn't need to. Tom came over that night, takeout in hand, his presence a quiet anchor. "She's losing it," he said, setting down the food. "You're winning." I smiled, small but real, and we ate in the glow of my new lamp, the first thing I'd bought just for me. Jack called a few days later, his voice rough, like he'd been up all night. "Liz, you've flipped everything. I hired a sitter, part-time, but it's something. Kate's pissed, but the boys, they're okay." I froze, the phone heavy in my hand. "You're stepping up?" I asked, cautious. "Trying," he said. "You were right. We leaned too hard. I'm sorry." It wasn't a fix, but it was a crack in their perfect facade, a shift I hadn't expected. I thanked him, voice tight, and hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and disbelief. The twins card came next. Crayon scribbles, Kate's handwriting. "We miss Aunt Lizzie." My heart ached, but I wrote back, firm. "I miss you too, but I'm finding me now." I mailed it, knowing Kate might trash it, but it wasn't for her. It was for them, and for me. My father showed up unannounced one Saturday, knocking soft on my new door. Hank had warned me. "Old guy, says he's your dad." And I let him up, palms sweaty. He stood in my tiny living room, eyes tracing the pottery on my shelves, the photos of Maggie and Tom pinned to the wall. "You're different," he said, voice low, almost awed. "Happier." I nodded, throat tight. "I had to be, Dad." He sat, hands clasped, and looked at me. Really looked, maybe for the first time. "We messed up. Kate, she needed so much, and we thought you didn't. I see it now." His words weren't polished, not a full apology, but they carried weight, a regret I'd never heard before. "I hope we can be part of this," he said, gesturing at my space. "On your terms." I nodded, tears prickling. "Maybe. We'll see." He hugged me, awkward, real, the first in years, and left, his footsteps echoing down the hall. I stood there, breathing deep, a piece of me settling into place. My mother stayed silent after that, her last call a hissed. "You'll regret this rebellion." I deleted it, her voice fading into static. Kate's post slowed, her anger losing steam as Jack's changes took root. I kept building. Pottery classes with coworkers who laughed at my lopsided bowls, dates with Tom that stretched into lazy Sundays, sessions with Nina peeling back layers of guilt I'd carried too long. My new place felt like home, every corner mine, no echoes of Kate's chaos or my mother's demands. I decided to mark it, threw a housewarming party, just a handful of people who saw me, not the old Liz. Maggie brought wine, Tom carried in snacks, my pottery crew filled the room with chatter. No family, no drama, Just warmth, laughter, a toast from Maggie. To Liz, who broke free and built this. I grinned, glass raised, feeling light, whole, alive. That night, alone with the hum of the city outside, I thought about it all. The island escape, the coffee shop fight, the slow reclaiming of my life. I learned something hard but true. Love shouldn't chain you. Family isn't a contract to sacrifice yourself. It's a bond that should lift you up, not pull you under. I spent 35 years as their crutch, their shadow. But running away, standing up, carving this space, it showed me I'm worth fighting for. Guilt's a trap they set. Freedom's a battle you win. And the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. If you're out there, tangled in someone else's needs, hear this. You're not wrong to want your own air. Take that step, draw that line. I did, and I'm here, stronger for it. So what about you? Ever had to cut loose from a weight holding you down? Share your fight below. I'd love to know I'm not alone in this. Let's keep talking, because choosing yourself isn't the end. It's where life starts.